Hi, this is Carrie with Trail Traveler on YouTube, and you're listening to the Trailhead Podcast.
Rev it up, let it roar, feel the ground shake. Pedal down, dust flying, no time to waste. The trailhead's calling, engine power on a roll. This is where trails start and stories unfold. Under starlit skies, where the wild things roam. Every trail a journey, every Jeep a home. Meet at the trailhead, where the wild ones run. The dust kicks high and the day's not done. With the road wide open and the dirt in our soul. This is where trails start and our stories unfold.
Welcome to the Trailhead. Joining me today is Kerry Garrison, a seasoned off-roader and content creator from Berthoud?
Yep.
Berthoud. All right,
Berthoud,
I said it right.
just out
I
of Fort
practiced
Collins.
it. Awesome. Colorado. Kerry is the force behind Trail Traveler, where he shares his explorations across Colorado, Utah, Nevada, Arizona, and, well, everywhere. We're here to talk about his journey into off-roading and deciding to cash out of the business world, channeling his love for adventure into educational videos and vehicle upgrade videos and maintenance videos and guide videos and all the videos. Kerry's mission is to inspire safe and responsible exploration with great outdoors, a message he's now shared at many Overland Expo. We're thrilled to have you on the show today, Kerry. Thanks for coming.
Glad to be here, JD.
So we have been kind of running in the same circles because we were both here in Colorado and we end up at the same events. And it's kind of gotten to the place now where I feel like I need to get some more. I need to know some more of my fellow content creators and people that are kind of doing the same work that I'm doing. I want to start though, kind of just to get to know you a little bit, kind of at a core level. Where did you grow up at? Where did you get started?
I'm originally from Southern California, and
Okay.
I've been in Arizona, Nevada, Oregon, you name it, and always kept going back to California. And then 11 years ago, because of a job I had where I was working remotely, I decided to pack up and move and come to Colorado. So I've been here for 11 years.
You know, what's funny is I think that we have multiple situations where we probably would have run into each other over the years. We've been here right around at the same time.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you, when you were in California back in the day, were you a big off-roader? What was your tie to the outdoors when you were growing up?
You know, I always did some level of camping, and right before when I was getting ready to move out here for the previous few years, I had a friend who had a Nissan dealership, and he would let me borrow 4Runners, and I would go out to places like Calico, Big Bear, places like that, and just loved doing that. We would camp, we would go wheeling, we'd explore old mines, things like that. And so I've had a love of it for a long time, but getting out here in Colorado, things are completely different. You know, the rock crawling, the mountains, the Rockies, it's a completely different experience than the deserts of Colorado or even the mountains of California. Vastly different here. And I got the bug when I moved out here, bought a Trailblazer and used that for a while, and then had the opportunity to sell a piece of a business that I had and bought my dream vehicle, my Jeep.
Nice. And what is your dream vehicle? What are you driving?
Well, today my dream vehicle is a 2018 JL Unlimited Rubicon.
Okay. Just kind of minor upgrades to it. I mean, I don't think you're running like bigger than 37s, are you? You haven't gotten to the 40s. 38s? Okay.
I will say it's built for what we do. It's not a rock crawling beast like some of my friends have. It's not purely an overland vehicle like some of my other friends have. It's a hybrid. We do just about everything from the hard trails here in Colorado to overlanding across Wyoming. So it has to fit those roles well. So it doesn't have 1-ton axles because I don't want to go any wider than stock. The 38s, sure, those are fairly big tires, but we're running metal cloak, 3.5-inch lift kit, JKS dual rate springs, Fox 2.5 shocks. In terms of the axles, we've got Yukon gear and axle, chromolyes on the rear, and RCVs on the front. So just things to help make it a little stronger, a little beefier than stock.
Okay. I mean, that we're big proponents on this show of building your rig the way you need it to function for you. I'm still, for a multitude of reasons, I'm on 35s, but warranties are one of them. But it's also a good middle ground vehicle. It gets me into a lot of places and does a lot here in Colorado. Which is my backyard. So
35s here in Colorado will get you on 90+% of the trails.
Yeah.
Easy, if not more.
95 if you follow bad advice.
Or bad lines.
Both, yes. Both of these things can exist at the same time too. So when you came out to Colorado, did you immediately start exploring into the mountains, or did you was it just kind of tiptoeing into it? Because you had the Trailblazer for a while, right? Like I don't imagine you did a whole lot of lift kit stuff to that.
No, we didn't do anything to it. It eventually got totaled when a deer jumped in front of me. But I bought it the week after I moved to Colorado. And my absolute goal was, if I'm going to live here in Colorado, I am going to explore Colorado. And living in California, I probably saw less than 1% of that state in most of my entire life living there. And Colorado has such a diverse history. It's got a rich history. It's got geology, it's got geography, it's got history, it's got you name it, it's got it here in Colorado. And I wanted to get out. I lived in big cities my entire life. I don't consider myself a city boy. I love the mountains. I love getting out. That's where I go to recharge. Even in Southern California, I would just drive to Big Bear for the day just to get away from the city. And so this fit me very well. And I definitely had a goal of seeing as much of this state as I could possibly do. And my G35 wasn't going to cut it.
Yeah. I think we have some folks on the Trails Off-Road team that do some mapping with those, and they're good. But if you really want to kind of get into the nooks and crannies, you really need at least to do a little bit of modification to your Jeep around here. But you're going to do a lot with stock.
Yeah.
So what were you doing then when you came to Colorado? Were you doing like kind of off-road stuff or anything in the off-road space at all? Or were you just kind of doing that on the weekends?
My entire adult life, I've been in telecommunications.
And, you too?
Yeah. So I was working for a company out here that eventually sold. I ended up not having a job, ended up with another telecom company and worked that for a little while. And then me and a friend of mine decided we were going to do the most stupid thing we could possibly do and open up the only DJI authorized dealership in Colorado. And we were drone store owners. So we
Copter warehouse?
Multi-copter warehouse. Absolutely.
There it is. Yep. Castle Rock. I remember it. Okay.
So I moved from Castle Rock up to Centennial, and we had the opportunity to sell it, and I did. So, and now I'm back in telecom again.
That's usually how it goes. It's one of those things where it sucks you in. I've been in telecom in some way, shape, or form since I was 18. So, yeah, I get it. It sucks you back in. It's a decent industry to be in, at least.
Yeah, it is. Pays the bills.
It pays the bills. So then in 2019, then is that you got out of the copter warehouse, and were you doing telco at the time, or did you just kind of get out of that and were like, I'm going to go travel for a while?
That I'd been with before. They asked me to come back.
Okay.
So it was a pretty easy decision to go back there.
Okay. So in that case, then you're like the rest of us. You're just doing content and you're working during the week and editing at night in front of the television and all those fun things. All right.
You know what? We're out on the weekends, editing during the week.
Yeah. It's just a constant, it's a never ending cycle. I mean, I love it. I really enjoy doing it. I really enjoy getting the footage and stuff. I was just watching your, the Saint John video, and I was just like, Carrie finally put together the video that I've always wanted to do. Like, I have some footage like that, but you managed to put it all together into a package. So it's really cool.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate that. We tried.
That's all you can do, buddy. Like, it's all we got to do is keep putting, our stuff out there, and people who like it will find it and they'll stick with you.
Yeah. Channel's been growing. People seem to like what we do. So I encourage us to keep going, making more.
What made you want to like start kind of turning that spigot on, trying to get that YouTube going, getting those videos going, and kind of making it a more combined effort, if you will?
It's a good question. So I've, as far back as I can remember now, I mean, 20 plus years, I've created content for,
Okay.
I had a website way back in the day called Camera Dojo. It was one of the most popular photography education sites. We had the #1 podcast on iTunes for a couple of years. And
Wow.
we were doing I was doing educational content for photography before YouTube. We were, I'd edit, I'd upload it to the web server. I had to pay a lot of money for web services
Oh
because
boy.
of the storage space. We had to figure out how to
Mhm.
embed videos back then. And then YouTube came out and changed everything on how all this worked. Every job I've had since then, I've been the content creator. And so creating content is just kind of in my nature. And getting the Jeep, it was like, I want to document this stuff, whether there's
Yeah.
a market for it or not. I didn't even care. I just wanted to document it. And we just kept growing and growing, and the views kept going up, subscribers kept going up. And then this past year has just been a hockey stick. So it's been very encouraging to keep going at it for sure.
That's fun. Did you, when you, I know you do a lot of kind of guide stuff now and you kind of have a structured method. Was that not how you started your YouTube channel? Was it kind of, because I know mine was all over the place and I kind of had to really, completely reinvent it at one point.
Oh, we've reinvented several times, I would say. Some of the initial videos were trail guides. I didn't enjoy filming them. I didn't enjoy editing them. I wasn't really happy with the end result. The audience wasn't resonating with them. And you know what? Dewey does a fantastic job at trail guides. Let him do
Yeah.
it. It just wasn't what I wanted to produce. And so over time, we've kind of morphed more and more. And now we call our trail videos, we call them adventure videos. It's not necessarily about where it is. I mean, sometimes it is, but it's more about this is what we do, sit
Right.
in the passenger seat and ride with us. And it's not at mile 4, you're going to see this. At mile 5, there's going to be this obstacle. That's just, to me, just doing that content was boring as hell. And I applaud Dewey with Colorado Mall Crawlers. He does a great job at it.
Yeah.
And he enjoys doing it. I don't. So I had to find the content that fit my style. Unfortunately, my wife's style is identical. So it was pretty easy for us to agree on how we move the channel forward with the type of content we want to produce.
That's very helpful. Having a second pair of hands, and especially a separate set of hands with a similar vision, with that wants to work with you on that kind of stuff. That's fantastic, man. How long have you been married?
So we met in 2020 during COVID, and we couldn't
That's
even
fun.
hook up. We couldn't even meet each other at first because everything was closed. And then end of 2020, we had our first date. There's a funny story there. And then 2 years later, got engaged, and we got married a year ago.
Congratulations. That's awesome. What's the story of the first date?
Oh, so I mean, yeah, we did meet at a restaurant for just to get to know each other the first time, and then that evening after we both got home, I said, you've seen the stuff I'm doing for my YouTube channel. You need to come ride with me and really see and experience what I do, and see if this is something that you have as part of your lifestyle. And
I can't tell if that's the pickup line or if you were honestly trying to gauge her interest in it.
no, if she had no interest in off-roading, that would probably have been a problem, right?
I get it.
So
Yeah.
basically, our first real date was Red Elephant Hill up to Billmore Lake. And
Oh,
so I'm filming, I'm doing my thing, and she's sitting there just kind of enjoying it. And we get to the top, we get to the lake, and she looks at me and she goes, I'm in. It's like, sweet, you're a keeper.
nice.
So then I told you 2 years later, we got engaged. Well, 2 years later, I got all my friends together and we did Red Elephant Hill and Billmore Lake, and I proposed to her at the top. And then
Oh,
the next year, guess where we got married? Billmore Lake.
nice.
So it's got a little sentimental value to us.
That's fantastic. Mike, JK Trailfinder, they got engaged up on Engineer and then got married there.
Uh-huh.
So I love stories like that. It terrifies my wife because they usually take the pictures at the edge of, infinity, and which I think they're amazing photos, but it's awesome. That's really great. And the fact that you managed to avoid all the mosquitoes at Billmore Lake for the time of a ceremony, it's
Yeah, it was.
congratulations.
It's end of August.
Okay. I've been up Billmore Lake one time, and the thing that I remember the most about it is just the aggressive mosquitoes.
Yeah, they're not
they're
like
just
Ozark-sized mosquitoes. They're little tiny mosquitoes, but there's billions and billions.
yeah. And when you close your windows, like they're all bouncing at the windows, like they're trying to get in. Like it's a scene. It's a horror scene. It really is. Uh, well, that's awesome, man. It's always great to find a partner in crime when you're doing this kind of stuff. Cause I mean, we're out, we're doing trails in the middle of nowhere. And I know you're very much like me. You're not a rock crawler. You like to get out and kind of explore and find those back areas and stuff like that. So,
yeah. And it was pretty early on that she started helping filming and then picking up the music and stuff and sitting with me while I'm editing. But at some point I said, look, hon, you got to make a choice here. You either have to learn how to drive the Jeep or you got to learn how to fly the drone. She's like, I will never fly the drone. So she does a lot of the driving. If there's drone footage going on, I mean, she's behind the wheel. So and today she probably drives 70% of the time. So it's a huge percentage where she's behind the wheel.
That's cool. Does she really like it, or are there specific things that she's like, she taps out from? She's like, I'm not doing this, Cliff.
Once in a while, she'll be like, yeah, you should take over. Because, and I don't think it's necessarily because she's afraid of something. It's because there's a chance that something's going to go wrong and she doesn't want to be behind the wheel when something goes wrong.
I mean, I get it. I can't blame her for that either. Like it is, I feel like my wife would feel the same way about that kind of stuff. Like she's behind the wheel of my baby at that point, and if something were to go wrong, I think she would be horrified by it.
Yeah, I mean, we were on China Wall a couple years ago, and she was driving when we blew out a front U joint, and she felt horrible. I'm like, honey, it would have happened. I mean, it would have happened if I would have been. It was just time for it to go. It's no big deal. It's just
you don't understand. Those are essentially a glove box item for a lot of Jeep people. So just you got to spare one in the glove box in case you need it on the trail.
It was our excuse to upgrade to RCP.
Josh at Trail Hero, he had the same thing, and he just upgraded the next day before he came home. So good for him.
Yeah, big difference.
When I got my Jeep, it's got the lifetime Mopar warranty on it, and so I haven't made a whole lot of changes to a lot of the undercarriage. But now it's almost a couple of years ago at this point, I had to replace the axle in the front and replace the steering. So now that those components are replaced, I'm kind of in a place where like, well, I'm willing to do more stuff that doesn't impact the engine. So such a difference that a bigger steering kit makes, and such a difference that stronger joints make. It makes a big difference to the way it feels on the trail. So
last year we upgraded our steering to the Apex Power Steering Boost Kit. It's not full hydraulic, it's not a PSC system, but damn, what an improvement that is! Absolutely one of my favorite mods.
All right, I've never even heard of it before. Is it so? It just assists the existing pump.
It's literally a plug that goes into the power steering pump that allows it to run at a higher PSI. So instead of running around 600 PSI, we're running around 1,000 PSI. So you can sit on asphalt with your lockers on and just turn the steering wheel. So when it comes to especially with 38s, when you're trying to make a tight turn, into a parking lot, that's where you feel the difference. When you're hung up on rocks, that's where you feel the difference. I have literally forgotten that I had my lockers on for a half hour on a trail because it's just so easy to turn the steering wheel, even with the lockers on. So absolutely a phenomenal upgrade.
I'll take that recommendation. I'll have to take a look at that.
Yeah. I mean, another product from Apex, which I've said for years is one of our favorite mods, is the rapid performance valves. We air down from 38 to 12 in 18 seconds.
So I I like the idea of those. Are you ever afraid that you're going to rip them off, or that they are taller or too tall for the?
Well, with our particular wheels, it hasn't been a problem, but we did break one up in Wyoming once, and
Okay.
my only option was to just swap out the spare because there's no fixing that on the trail.
Well, I don't know if you can do that after it's been swapped over to an Apex one, but there is a company now that makes an on-trail
Yeah, like
valve stem
the
replacement.
Colby valves.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't do it with the Apex because of the way they're bolted in on the inside. So you have to remove
Okay.
the tire to replace them.
Okay.
So we could have just driven into Casper, which was fairly close, and just had the tire fixed, but it was 4th of July. And, like, I'm not going to try and even hope that someone's around to fix a valve stem.
Yeah, I don't even think Discount Tire is going to be open on a weekend.
Yeah.
Like that. Well, you do a lot of these epic road trips, and I've noticed in a lot of the videos, let's see, I think it was the Maze one that I watched. You definitely
Maze
had
District.
somebody with you. And I want to talk about the Maze video in just a second. Are you a solo wheeler? Do you always wheel with somebody else? What are your rules around that?
Do as I say, not as I do.
That sounds about right. Okay. I'll take that as an answer.
When feasible, we prefer to have someone with us. It's not always feasible. When we're spending 9 days driving from Colorado to Montana through Wyoming, we couldn't find anyone to go with us. So, all right, fine, we'll go by ourselves. We've done the Rimrocker Trail by ourselves. We've done a number of big trails by ourselves, and we can talk about my plans coming up, which are going to be just me and the dog. So we are okay doing solo stuff. However, that being said, we are probably more prepared than most people going out there, and I think it's worth talking about in terms of self-recovery, emergency communications, planning, and logistics. And so going through Wyoming, I even had a pole pal with me. I mean, I had every conceivable piece of recovery gear, and I needed it all on that trip. The pole pal saved us 3 times because there was no tree to winch off of. So
good Lord. It's a lot of deep holes to drill.
Well, I mean, the pole pal is nice because it just digs in itself and becomes a land anchor, and you winch off of it. If you watch our Wyoming BDR video, you see it in action. And yeah, it was a lifesaver. Most people aren't going to carry something like that. And we'll carry every conceivable piece of recovery gear because we don't know what we're going to face by ourselves. We don't tend to carry as much when we're with other people because someone can just pull us back, get us out of a problem. So while we do some solo trips, we definitely over prepare for it. And
that's okay.
We have Zolio for satellite communications. Somebody knows where we are. We check in the morning, we check in the evening. They've got a map of the route. They know how long it should take us to get from this point to this point. And if we're not checking in, they can have our back, basically. So we're never out completely by what I would say by ourselves. Somebody knows where we are at all times.
Okay. And that's it's not a gotcha question. Trust me, it's a conversation that we have on a regular basis on this show in general, because I am, Trails Off Road. There's a lot of times that who wants to go spend time, 3 hours with me for a 1 hour trail that would normally take them 1 hour, doing videos and pictures and all that kind of stuff every weekend. Nobody wants to do that.
This is why I don't publicly post, hey, come join us on a trail, because it's obnoxious to go with us because of the filming. We have
100%
a regular group of people that go with us all the time, and they're used to it. They understand. They get it. They're chill. They're like, oh, okay. Oh, you need to set up this shot? Yeah, go right ahead. So for someone who isn't ingrained in that, it's very obnoxious to go out with somebody who is. And so we don't invite just anybody to go with us because we know they're going to get frustrated with us.
Yeah. It is fun when you're at an event like Trail Hero or something like that, and everybody on the run with you is an influencer, content creator, because then everybody's just like, well, I'm stopping to take pictures, and everybody's like, okay, I'm going to stop to take pictures too. So,
you want me to take pictures of you?
Yeah, exactly. We'll take pictures of you. You take videos of us. We'll all get to it's an amazing event. But we always talk about off-trail or off-grid communication. So this has saved me It saved me at least once, probably twice, if I'm being 100% honest with myself. And yeah, just be prepared. And yeah, everything you need, dude. If you're going to be traveling over that much different terrain, then yeah, have a pull pal, have
Yeah.
all the recovery ropes that you need and might need, and a couple of backups. And yeah,
Yeah. And we
it's
just
got to
got
be self
Starlink. We
sufficient.
got a Starlink Mini now. So
Nice.
I just one too many close calls, and
Yeah.
we're like, not gonna take the risk. We're gonna have communications. I need to be able to make a phone call wherever I'm at,
Yeah.
not just text for help.
So that's an interesting sidebar question for you. So what's kind of your purposes for Starlink as a whole? Like, because I know you guys do a lot of these big long road trips, and how many days or so that you're off grid on a regular basis. Are you just using it then for weather updates? Are you trying to reply to emails and stuff, or what do you? What's your
I
main?
would say it's threefold. Number one, I have a full-time job, and so I need to work. And while I have a lot of PTO every year, I'm planning on things that would far exceed that PTO. So I need to be able to be on a trail working handful of hours a day, if not, 6, 7, 8 hours a day, and then still be able to get stuff done, wheel in the morning, wheel in the afternoon, whatever. But I need to be able to work remotely. Number two, yes, updates, maps, weather, that type of stuff, very important. When you're out on multi-day trails, you can only look, Colorado, weather's only good for about 6 hours before it's pointless. So those types of updates. And, third is just general, emergencies. We were in Oregon and the suspension on our trailer just folded, just completely failed on us. Fortunately, I was in the one location where I had cell signal for 20 miles in either direction. And I was able to start making phone calls. I was able to get help coming up to us and everything. And it worked out. But had we been 10 minutes earlier down in a canyon, there would have been no cell signal. So with Starlink, I still could have done everything that I did. I could have made phone calls. I could have arranged the help. I could have done all that and not have to worry about it. So I was very fortunate where we broke down. It could have been very bad or a lot of hiking.
Yeah, that's the other thing is I've done that. I've had to walk a mile because we ran out of cell phone service and I was in a vehicle that wasn't mine. It didn't have the recovery gear I needed and the satellite communication device that I usually have with me. And it's not fun. I've been debating a Starlink as a usable device, and it's growing on me as a want. Mostly for that kind of stuff, so that I can do some more multi-day trips and kind of just be out there in the middle of nowhere.
Yep, absolutely. I love the Mini. It sits in between my Alien Sage sunshade and my best top soft top, and it just slides in there, point straight up, and I've had speeds of over 100 megabits down.
Nice. Okay, that's good to know too. I might be able to get some more remote work time for that. That'd be great. That'd be fantastic.
Sure. That's my plan. I plan on being gone quite a bit over the next year, and I need to be able to work.
So, all right. So, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But let's talk about the maze, man, because this was like, I know from the way that I create videos that I am always looking for ways to kind of trim the video down as much as I can because I know people's attention
Let's start with something else, right?
Yeah.
So for people who don't know what we're talking about, this is the Maze District in Canyonlands National Park in Utah. Mm-hmm. Now, most people at least know what the Grand Canyon is. And many people have been to the Grand Canyon and will say that is the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. Well, if you think that, then you need to go to Canyonlands and go to White Rim Trail. And if you do White Rim Trail, you'll be like, Grand Canyon, whatever, like child's play. When you do the Maze District, that's what you think about White Rim Trail. You're just like, it blows away White Rim Trail. So it is one of the single most epic scenery locations you will ever visit in your life. That's my take on it.
Oh, no, I get it. I'm here for the scenery, and that was what attracted me to it in the first place. And I can only imagine how much footage you didn't use. And I'm sure that it got to a place where it started to become painful to make those cuts as you were starting to get into deeper and deeper into it.
Oh yeah.
So, because this is like almost a 2 hour thing, right? So how long were you guys out in the desert?
6 days.
Okay, that's a good run.
Yeah. So I mean,
That's a
we
good run
started
to
in
be off
Outland
grid.
Valley, did Poison Springs, Dollhouse, Maze Overlook, Panorama Point. Then there another one there, something like that. So yeah, we were on trail for 6 days.
Wow. Did you get off trail then to get gas or fuel up or any kind of fuel or supplies?
Nope.
So
So
you went on with everything you needed.
here's what we did, and you should find this interesting, right? So we're heavy users of Trails Off Road. I mean, we massive users of it. John says I'm one of the best QA testers that they have. So I think, we go to every trail that's in Trails Off Road for the Maze District, and we download the GPS files into Gaia. Then we stitched them together to create our final route to figure out exactly how many miles it was going to be. Now, based on that, we know off-roading with, being aired down and everything, we're going to get somewhere around 7 to 8 miles per gallon. So we knew how many miles it was. We knew what our gas mileage was going to be. So we calculated we had to take with us 21 extra gallons of fuel.
Is that just for you or for the other vehicle that was with you too?
That's just our portion of fuel.
So he had to carry, probably not as much. I don't think he had a trailer, right?
He had a 392 though. So he wasn't getting much
he was burning
gas mileage. So
yeah.
we had a lot of fuel. It was strapped everywhere on the trailer, roto packs. I mean, we had fuel everywhere.
How did you feel about being a rolling bomb then at that point?
Not very good. And the more we got rid of it, the better I felt. And when we finished in Green River, we had 4 gallons of fuel left.
That's cutting it close, man.
Yeah. But I mean, that just tells you how good the data is from Trails Off Road and how good Gaia GPS does for calculating mileage, that we nailed it perfectly.
That's cool. Yeah, and I will. This always sounds like an ad, and I swear to God, I'm not being paid to say it. And it's not just because I'm a writer for them. Like I honestly believe in Trails Off Road, and because of what we do when we go out there to collect the data, because we're very adamant about getting the mileage correct, very adamant about getting the districts correct, and waypoints and important information to people. And yeah, it's one of those things where every once in a while I'll see someone post about it. Oh, it's, here's Trails Off Road. And they're like, yeah, but it has a subscription. It's just like, but it's going to be the best, like, $40 or $50 less if you get it on a deal that you're going to spend. It's just going to get you out there and get you back.
Absolutely. I mean, we would be lost without it. That was bad.
So what did you like most about the Maze District? I spent some time in there when we came back from Las Vegas a couple years ago, and we had an absolute blast driving through those canyons and stuff. There's some areas that are just otherworldly. Yeah. Is the best way I can describe it.
I think it's one of the best combinations of epic scenery with some technical driving. Mm-hmm. And when you put those two together, you're going to have a good time. The Dollhouse was absolutely amazing. I mean, you see we got our trailer stuck on there and trying to navigate through, some of the turns with the trailer. People were just looking at us like, the hell are you doing pulling a trailer through here? I mean, it's got my kitchen. Like, what am I supposed to do?
I mean, and the rest of my fuel, if I'm being honest.
My fuel and my bed, and, that's how we roll. But we love our trailer. I mean, it is built for doing stuff like that. So it's held up pretty well.
How long have you had the trailer?
3 years now.
Okay. Because I've always debated about getting one of them, and I've never 100% sure if it's worth the investment or not. And I know for a 2-door, it probably would save me so much effort trying to pack stuff in, and especially with the dog and a wife and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, we looked at pretty much every trailer on the market, and the square drops, the teardrops, the pop-ups. I mean, you name it. We looked at everything out there, and what we kept running up against was storage. And you look at your typical teardrop or square drop or whatever, and you're like, okay, but I got table, I got chairs, I've got, maybe a canopy, I've got this other stuff. When I go to bed, all that stuff has to come out and sit outside. And she was just like, no, I'm not dealing with that. And so we just kept looking and looking and looking. And we walked into a dealership, and this trailer was all set up, got the rooftop tent on it. She's checking out all the storage on it. And sales guy standing next to me, she walks over and she just points at it. She goes, I want that. And I look at the guy, I'm like, why are you still standing here? Go write this up. And
that's a good day for him then. He's like, all right, I don't have to even convince you about that. That's awesome.
Yeah. No, he did come back with a price, and she looked at it and said, no, you can do better. And he did. So
there you go. That's what I like to hear. That's fantastic.
But that Tribe Trailer Overland Base Camp fits our style perfectly. It's not for everybody. Some people want the enclosure. They want to be able to have their air conditioning and, heating with some insulation, and the pop-up and all your kitchen stuff is, and those are great. There's a lot of great products out there, but for something that was as nimble as this is, as light as it is, with the amenities that it has, with the amount of storage that it has, there was just nothing else out there.
How many of these trips are you kind of doing per year?
So we will probably...
Let's say up until now. Like I get the distinct feeling from you that you're about to tell me that next year is just going to be nonstop for you. But up until now, how much? Until now,
I mean, and it varies year to year based on mostly weather here in Colorado. But in 21, we were out 48 weekends of the year, not counting some of the longer trips that were in that. So we tend to do three to four big trips, multi-day, 3, 4, 5, 8-day trips. And then in between all that, we're hitting local trails. We're going to Moab, we're going to Arizona, and doing a handful of named trails. Okay. So we have the mix between the named trails and like overlanding trips. So we have enough content. We're out enough that we're putting out probably 35 to 40 off-roading videos a year.
I mean, and that's no small. That's, for those of you listening, I'll tell you right now, that's not a small feat. We pump out a lot of episodes here, typically 4 per month plus our interview episodes. It's a lot of work. So that's a lot of content to be planning, shooting, and then editing, and then getting up there and promoting. And you do that a lot. You're fantastic at promoting your channel, man. That's one of the things I got to tip my hat to you on.
Thank you. Again, just something we have to work at. And, and that's not even counting all the non-off-roading videos, the product reviews, the educational pieces. Right. I mean, there's typically at least one other video a week that goes out. Sometimes, there's 3 videos a week based on, like right now, we're coming up on Black Friday. I mean, I've got a lot of product stuff that's coming out. So that 40 video, that's like 40 average videos. That's just for like trail related, guide related, area related videos. Yep. That's impressive, man. It's a lot. Now that's probably going to start changing because we've switched from doing more of the we're on this trail video, which are easier and shorter, to we're doing this adventure. And like you look at the last one and it covers, Deer Creek, Mid Fork Swan River, North Fork Swan River, it's 3-4 things combined into one. I can't edit those in a week. They take 2 to 3 weeks to edit. And so we're doing less of those, but they're bigger. And so those types of videos will be more like every other week now instead of every week. And that's, again, not talking about 2025. That's this year, how things have changed.
What's your favorite area to wheel in? Or favorite trail, if you can narrow it down to a specific trail?
I mean, obviously the Maze District. My wife and I would say that any day of the week. That's the favorite thing we've ever done. I mean, we love Moab. We love Ouray, Telluride area, the San Juans. That's amazing stuff out there. Anything where there's like a mix of some technical and scenery. If there's that mix, we're going to love it. Things like Red Cone and those. They're very scenic, but they're not super technical. But we still love them. But I wouldn't consider those things favorites. There's got to be that combo. You know, if I had to pick one trail out of that whole area, it'd be like Radical Hill, because it's that scenic stuff with the technical challenge. When we combine them, that's money.
Okay, that's fair.
What, babe? Oh, Crystal Mill. Yeah, we just did Crystal Mill. That was amazing. So you have some easy stuff with amazing scenery, and then you do like Schofield Pass and Pearl Pass. You get that technical stuff there. But yeah, that was an amazing trip.
What was the first trail you did in Colorado?
Oh God, I don't know, probably like Georgia Pass or something like that.
Okay, because I know in your St. John's video, you did say that you had just gotten your Jeep and you were making bad decisions about recovery gear. And I do remember that sticking out to me, and that sounds about like me when I first got my Jeep out here too. So I was curious.
Yeah. I think the first videos were like Phantom Canyon, Shelf Road, Highline, Skyline Drive, more things like that, just based on the vehicle. I mean, there was videos that I did where I was driving a BMW X3, and I'm taking that thing places that people were looking at me sideways. And I'm like, hey, I've got all-terrain tires on it. It's all-wheel drive. I can go damn near anywhere. Well, I couldn't, but I tried. Never got
tried. There it was. Okay. And I refer all of our listeners to the disclaimer that plays at the beginning of every episode to remind you that this is all inspirational. Seek professional guidance.
That's it for entertainment purposes only.
Exactly. For entertainment purposes only. Yeah. All right. I get that piece. I asked that question because I feel like a lot of people who start wheeling, especially have started wheeling in the last, 10 or 15, maybe 20 years, where there's kind of been more defined trails and stuff like that, is when you, and especially when you move into an area like we do, and you just start driving around, you're just like, this first trail that I did is the one I always go back to, because I always go back to the first trail that I really liked. It's not really technical, it's got some rocks and stuff like that, but the views are amazing, and it always has a special place in my heart because it's the first one I did.
Yeah. There's so many amazing places. It's just really hard to, nail down. The Canyonlands is just, absolutely one of our favorite places to go. A lot of the places in Moab, although Sedona area, you can't, the Red Rocks, it's really hard to beat that too.
Yeah. How do you feel about the closures in Moab? Because I'm sure you were upset about them too, but there's some people I think are in a place, and I'm kind of in this place at times, where I'm just like, why would I want to go to spend more time and money in Moab if they don't feel like they want the OHV community anymore? And so I'm kind of curious. I've seen you do some Blue Ribbon Coalition fundraisers and things like that, and I know you're kind of plugged into it. So I'm just kind of curious as to how you feel about those closures and kind of how we're kind of fighting back against them.
There's a time and a place to close a trail. There's no doubt. There are places that have been so abused that they really have no choice but to close them. This was not the case. This was wacko environmentalists making false claims that we are destroying the area, and we don't. Are there bad actors in 4x4s? Absolutely. Are there good people in the side-by-sides? Absolutely. There's bad actors that are backpackers. Every community has good actors and bad actors. And is one doing more damage than the other? Probably. And I don't think it's us. And so to do these blanket closures for the people who really put up more time, effort, and resources to maintain the trails versus the people who do nothing to maintain and update and keep those trails open, and now it's their domain exclusively, I got a problem with that.
I tend to agree with you on that one. There was when I first moved out to Colorado, I wasn't really aware of the fight going on out west, because I'm from the Midwest. I didn't really understand what was going on in terms of the Forest Service and the BLM and DNR, kind of doing these travel management plans and then inevitably closing roads and things that people had been using for decades. And in some cases, when I moved out to Colorado, it came to a place of that's a trail I'm never going to get to see. at all because you decided to close it. Hunky Dory Mine is one that comes out to mind.
Yep.
And I got to see it one time when I first moved here. And then a couple years later, fence posts went up and you couldn't get in there anymore.
Yep.
And it was terribly sad. I had no idea, and I had no idea why, and I had to go do research. And then there's a scene from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy where the guy's explaining to him, well, these plans have been on display for the last 90 days. And he's like, well, yeah, but I had to go to this place and then, get past two people and go to a basement and then look it up by last letter of the first alphabet. So it's the same kind of thing. And it's been in the last few years with the kind of the way closures have been going. I haven't really felt like returning to some of these spots that have just felt like doing these kind of blanket closures to quote unquote solve problems, and that solve problems that don't necessarily exist.
Well, and that's my complaint, right? Off-roaders are not leaving their human waste behind.
Yeah, 100%. We're 100%. We are not leaving little bags of crap everywhere all over the desert. We're just not doing it.
Bags.
Right.
That's the problem. But it's open to them.
Yes.
Who's doing the damage? It's not us. I said, are there bad people in off-roading? Absolutely. But it's a tiny, tiny minority of people. And I don't see the damage out there that is being claimed. So I'm on trails every week. And it's not us that's hurting the trails the most. It's the people who still have access to them. And
I think that folks like you and me are in a great place to say that, and say that with some authority too. Like Carrie and I, we're putting some serious miles out on these trails when we're doing this stuff. And whether it's doing the overlanding trips or mapping the trails or the rest of it, we're seeing all of it, and we're seeing a lot of it on a regular basis. A lot of the trails that I maintain for Trails Off-Road are right here in Colorado, so I'm on them on a regular basis. And some of these trails that have the worst reputation when it comes to garbage and people and things like that, you get out there and you're just like, it's a Saturday and I have run into one other person today. Yeah. And it's just, I think that over time we have let other people kind of drive the narrative about off-roaders, and we're taking that back now, but it's a bit of an uphill battle because the cast has been set to a certain degree.
Yeah. I mean, look at the situation down in the Gulches, it's 20 years of battling, and there's no hope to it in fight.
No. And, we talked with Marcus about that, and that one gets into a place of just straight up government mismanagement and people who aren't doing trail maintenance they're not doing it in good faith. And they're not maintaining these areas that they've been charged with maintaining, and they don't want to do it. And that it's a really sad situation there. That's a whole nother ball game. I'm sure we could spend tons of time talking about that. Yep. And we have spent an hour on that. I'm sure we will again. All right. Well, let's steer back into something happy then. So what else? What's your big plans for 2025? We've been kind of teasing and hitting at it all, but
So my wife, bless her heart, said, you need to get out of the house. You work from home. You need to get out more often. You need to go do some solo trips and, hook up with other people, go do solo stuff by yourself. I mean, you're totally capable of doing it all. It'll keep you sane. Now, I personally think she just wants me out of the house, but
yeah, I'm getting that vibe from mine too.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, but that's the plan. Places on the bucket list right now are going to be like Anza Borrego, places in Arizona, New Mexico, especially during the winter, because I don't know if anyone else is around from here, but it gets cold here. And I'm tired of being out in the cold. I just did another trip yesterday or Sunday night. It's cold here. I want to get out of the cold. So some other place, California, New Mexico, Arizona, maybe Texas, Baker Overland. He's like, dude, you got to get out to the Ozarks during the winter. You don't want to come here during the summer because of the mosquitoes. They're freaking huge. So I'm going to plan to go out there before it starts warming up here and there because of the bugs. So he's like, yeah, wintertime is the best time to come out. So I've got some stuff pretty much around the country that is on the list for 2025.
That's cool. Any kind of or any of those like because obviously trips like the maze, the area and that stuff like that takes a lot of planning. So do you have anything like that in the books, or is it all just kind of these little 4 and 5 pockets?
No, I mean there's some bigger things. There's a what's it called, overlandtrailguides.com. They have some big like 5, 7, 10, 15 day routes that I'm looking at and trying to tie in, you know, the data that I have from Trails Off Road with what that they have to create kind of my own custom routes that could easily span a week to 10 days doing these things by myself. Anza Borrego is going to probably be a multi-part trip, because that by itself is, I mean, you can spend 4 or 5 days out there, and then I want to head over and do a little piece on the Salton Sea. It's got a little, you know, I got a little background in talking about that in the past. I've done some stuff out there. So kind of let people know what's going on with the Salton Sea area. And then, you know, maybe I'll do that in March when Overland Expo is out there, and I've got some friends and family that are out there. So maybe wrap that up into a big, big trip. You know, I want to get down to Texas. People invited me to come out there. There's still stuff in Arizona I want to go do. The Arizona Peace Trail, I mean, it's 700 miles. So there's some much bigger, you know, week-long trips that I want to do by myself.
Yeah, I've heard about the Arizona Peace Trail, and I've been told that if you like your kidneys, that the washboards will destroy them before you are done. So
Kind of
just
like
so you
Tin
know.
Cup Pass.
Yeah. There's just some of these guys out there that are just relentless in terms of bumpy nature. The payoff is usually pretty great, but they just beat you up the whole way through.
Just air down to 12 and loosen up the shocks, right?
Hey, see another person down that goes down to 12. Everybody looks at me like I'm a crazy person. Just like, your tires can handle it. You'll be fine.
Yeah, it's funny. You know, we'll be in the forums, and you and I are in the same forums here, that someone will say, well, yeah, I was having trouble. I got stuck. People are like, what'd you air down to? And they're like, well, I aired down to 20.
Yeah.
Well, that's not airing down. That's just,
no, it's not.
That's a small leak or something. That's nothing.
Yeah, that's a low pressure thing on the highway that you really need to get checked out real fast.
Yeah. No, airing down is like 15 or below. And when you look at the difference in your tire contact patch between 15 and 20, it's massive versus 15 to, you know, or 20 to 30 is almost no difference. But once you start getting below 15, you get down to 12, all of a sudden it's almost exponential how much bigger your contact patch is, which also means how much softer your sidewalls are, which is better on your kidneys and the rest of your body parts.
Yes. And it is also why you should choose a tire with a strong sidewall, and do not go with 2 sets of Wrangler Duratrax, which you have popped a tire every single time. It was so funny to me when we were in Sand Hollow. I had never driven on dunes before like that. I had not driven in the sand, but a 2-door Jeep, you know, is not exactly heavy on that sand at all. And it was just me in the Jeep, and I had aired down to 12 PSI, and I floated across it. I had a great day. I had 0 problems, never had an inkling of getting stuck. And I'm talking with some of these other folks who are leading some of these trail runs, and they're just like, I don't want to get stuck. I'm terrified of getting stuck. I'm like, well, what are you aired? Like, you're at 17 PSI. Like, that's, how are you doing some of these obstacles? And then B, of course, you've got a 4-door Jeep. You're going to sink like a rock in that. Because that's the first thing I did when I got to the park. I tried to go off the road without airing my tires down, and immediately sank and had to air down and then get myself out. But yeah, don't underestimate airing down, folks.
No. And if I think at the end of last winter, we were on Balanced Rock in the snow, and we were getting stuck constantly. And I was at 12, and we dropped down to 7. And I'm not on beadlocks. I'm just on normal AMC wheels. And we dropped down to 7, and massive game changer getting out of there. So I'm not afraid to drop it down into single digits, you know, to an extent. I'm not going to go down to 3 or 4, but, you know, 6 if I need to, then get it back up, like 9, 10, whatever. But getting down really made a huge difference.
Yeah. If you find yourself like, that's, I think, you know, when both of us started, there weren't a whole lot of, there were some YouTube videos about how to do stuff. There wasn't as much of it out there as there is now. And I I didn't have anybody like myself in my circles to say, hey, you should really know how to do this first. And you should really make sure that you figure out how to air down to a certain pressure. Like that was just something I saw in a forum. I'm like, well, what the hell is airing down? And then you go and you look it up and you're like, well, that sounds delightful. Like if I'm up on Rampart Range here, which is just 60 miles of washboards, a little bit of, relief from that is fantastic. And then you find, oh, well, there's other advantages to that. So I really enjoy, it's one of the things that I enjoy about talking with folks like yourself and folks like us that kind of make sure that we're trying to do this education piece to make sure that new people coming into the sport really understand what it is that they're getting into. And, you can get a Jeep, you can get a Bronco, you can get a side-by-side, you can get a whole lot of really cool stuff, but do some research about how to use it and how to get yourself out of a sticky situation before you go out and get yourself in a sticky situation. Because that's what I did. I think it's what you did. You said you almost got in trouble on St. John. I did get in trouble back here on Mount Herman Road and actually killed my TJ. So, it's good that you're out here. So I really appreciate that you're out here doing this kind of stuff, man.
This is the beginning of winter here in Colorado, and every week, if not multiple times a week, till springtime, there are going to be people in the forums on Facebook saying, I need help, I'm stuck. It's
Right.
not the people who have 10 years of experience, who have a vehicle full of recovery gear and experience in how to use that. It's the people who
Right.
don't know. They don't know what they should have. They don't know about even airing down. They have no recovery gear. And unfortunately, they often don't have warm clothes, enough gas in their vehicle to stay warm, no emergency communications. No way to actually get help or help themselves. And like I said, it's not the experienced people, it's the newbies that are coming out. And that's who we need to talk to and tell them this is the right way to do stuff. This is the safe way to do it. These are the things and the tools that you need to be out there being safe.
Yeah, exactly. I just can't say it enough, and we'll repeat it. Just go out there prepared. What's your riskiest, sketchiest moment? Were you by yourself? Were you with somebody else when that happened? Because I know my sketchiest moments, well, up until recently, had been by myself.
So I can tell you this story because I actually just told my wife about it a few days ago.
And I know she's off to the side listening to us talk.
Yeah.
So hello.
She's waving back from the couch. She's trying to keep the dog quiet. So basically a year ago, as we were coming out of the winter time, I needed to go do a diesel heater review, and there was snow out. I'm like, this will be perfect. I'm going to do something easy, but something that I can make look cool. So I'm going to go up on School Road, and I'll go over to the Ironclads area. They got those cool rocks behind it. It'll make a great backdrop for this video. And I hook up the trailer and I start going up. Well, people who know this, the area there will be, Bun School Road. I mean, that's like a 3. I mean, you're not going to run into any trouble getting up there. Yeah, not so much in the snow. So
No.
You come around the first big bend and it's a climb going up, and there's a big ledge that you've got to go up. And I mean, not big, it's like a foot. It's nothing major. I mean, any stock vehicle can do it. Yeah, try doing that when it's covered with snow and you're pulling a trailer. So I can't get up. There's no way I can get up. And if I can back everything up just perfect, I can probably spin around and then drive back out the way I came, because there's kind of a pull out there. But every time I go to back up, the trailer is sliding further and further towards the cliffside. I cannot get it to go the way I want. And I'm like, man, if I have to call Colorado 4x4 Rescue and Recovery, I'm going to feel so stupid for being out there doing this. And they all know me, so I'm going to get nothing but grief for it. For being so stupid. And I'm just like, I'm right at that point of going, this is going to turn out really bad. And I finally made the decision. The only thing I can do is go forward. And I pulled winch line, and it took me 3 pulls to get up to a spot where then I could drive forward, get turned around, and then drive back out. But even driving back out, going down that was slicker than hell. And it was a pretty massive pucker factor getting up and down out of that by myself with, no one to, I mean, like I said, I had my Zolio. I could call for help. I wasn't, I knew I wasn't in a life or death situation if I just stopped and waited for help. But I did manage to self recover.
Yeah. You just don't want to.
Yeah.
I get that part. I had to call them this summer, and I was 100% ready to eat crow on everything because I had gotten myself, at the back of a trail by myself sideways, and I still had to eat crow because somebody recovered me, but they had already assembled the team. So yeah, I get that part 100%. You don't want to have to call them after talking to them about what you should and shouldn't be doing, especially they were on the show.
Yeah.
So, but I did have my satellite messenger. That was one of those situations where it saved me. It allowed me to get communications out to people to let them know I was safe while I was, getting recovered and getting out of there. So, just go prepared. Just go
Yeah.
prepared. That's awesome though. I feel like a lot of people who have stories who come to Colorado to wheel for or move to Colorado and didn't kind of grow up in it. When you move from another area, whether or not you're from California and you kind of haven't encountered snow at that kind of level before, or I come from the Midwest where it's just frozen for 4 months, 5 months, 6 months out of the year, and the snow is just kind of there, but it isn't really a trouble and anything else like that. But you get up to Colorado and it becomes a situation, and the next thing you know, your TJ's in a tree.
Yeah.
And
I think that one of the biggest problems we have here is the difference in weather from downtown to the mountains, which are less than 90 minutes
yeah,
away. And
yeah,
we have 2 weeks of 60-degree, 65-degree weather, and everybody heads towards the mountains. They hit Switzerland Trail and they run into a 4-foot snowdrift that they're absolutely unprepared for. So,
yeah,
in fact, the easiest trails we have are the ones that that get the most recoveries because people underestimate what's there because they're like, yeah, but I was in shorts yesterday.
right. But you weren't in shorts at 9,000 or 10,000 feet. Yeah,
Absolutely. So it's a big difference. And
yeah,
I know my limitations when I'm by myself. And Saturday, I was going to go to this campsite up at Joe Wright Reservoir. Love the place. It's one of the few places in Colorado where you can catch Arctic grayling. So I go up there and I get to the turn to go to the campsite. I'm like, oh, hell no. There is no way I'm driving down that. At the highway, it's 2 feet deep of snow because it's at 9,000.
yeah.
And I'm just like, I have done some stupid stuff. This is not going to be one of them. So I
You know what? That's
changed my plans.
good for you. Yep. I have discovered that the quickest way to end up in a bad situation is to change your plans last minute. So if you're just like, oh yeah, well this is snowed in, so I'm going to go over this way, and then you're going to be like, well, I can get through that snowdrift, and the next thing you know, you're high centered and you're not getting out that day. So,
Oh yeah, I mean, we ran into some unexpected snow in Wyoming on a 4th of July weekend that people were saying the trail was wide open. We get there and it's freaking deep snow. And,
yeah,
you're from, here, you go in a little bit, you back out, you go in, you back out, you just kind of keep packing it down. And the tires dropped and I couldn't back up. And there's no trees around. There's nothing to winch off of. So, I mean, I'm getting ready to like, okay, well, I can't use the pole pal because I have on the other side of a snowdrift. So my only choice is probably going to be to use the pole pal behind me with a high lift jack and slowly try and winch myself backwards. And we're trying to figure out, okay, who do we call for help? We're in Wyoming. That's not Colorado 4x4.
right.
And all of a sudden, this side by side with 4 people show up. They jump out. They've all got shovels and they dig us out.
Nice.
Absolutely amazing people up there. They're like, oh yeah, someone noticed that you were stuck, so we came to help you. Like,
That's fantastic. That's really cool. Yeah. That's really, and honestly, that's most of the times that I've ever been stuck, it's been recovered by somebody locally. But that's one good tip before I have one more question for you. That's one good tip to give out. If you're going to go to an area, find out, here in Colorado, we have Colorado 4x4 Rescue and Recovery. They will come out and get you. Maybe not necessarily your vehicle at that exact moment, but they will come recover you and get you out of a bad situation. If you found yourself stuck in the snow or you found yourself stuck on the side of the trail in July, Um, a lot of different states have these kinds of places. I know for a fact because I've used them. Nevada has one. It's called SNOR, Southern Nevada Off-Road Recovery. They're a fantastic group, and they're very much similar to Colorado 4x4 Rescue and Recovery. They don't. There's no fee to come get you. Right. These are all volunteers. These are folks that either train or have some sort of recovery knowledge so that they can come out and fix you and get you out of there. So if you've got a satellite messenger and their text number, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be able to get to those locations. So if you're going to go to Wyoming, or if you're going to go to Nevada, or you're going to go to Colorado, get the numbers of those places and just have them in your phone.
Now, I'll bring up another one that a lot of people don't know about called Off-Road Recovery Portal. And it's the website. And here, I want to be very clear on the difference of when to call who. For a basic, you just need to be pulled out. It's no big deal. Use Off-Road Recovery Portal. If it's a tricky situation and you want to know that the people coming out are absolute experts in what they do, you call Colorado 4x4 Rescue and Recovery. I'm a volunteer for the Off-Road Recovery Portal, and I'm not going to do what Colorado 4x4 Rescue and Recovery is going to do. They'll go out with 5-6 people with crazy pieces of equipment. They'll get you out of the worst conditions possible. You just need to be towed, snatched back a little bit. I'll come get you. No big deal. I prefer to let the experts do the expert level work.
Yeah. There was a time where Colorado Rescue was just a come one, come all, and they had become much more professional. And I would agree with that. And I had forgotten about them. I reached out to them. I'd like to get them on the show because they're just trying to essentially create a national clearinghouse for people that want to help with off-road recoveries.
Yeah, it's sponsored by Warren and Yankum Ropes and some other companies.
Yeah, it's a great resource, and I should bring it up more often. All right, cool. So you mentioned fishing. So that's off-road adjacent. That's not necessarily off-roading. Have you always been a big fisherman, or is that something
I used to fish a lot in California. And I don't know, a dozen plus years ago, my brother-in-law borrowed all my equipment to go on a trip, and it all got stolen.
Oh, wait. Did your brother just tell you that it got stolen, or was it actually stolen?
He said it was actually stolen. I believed him.
All right.
And I never really got around to replacing it. And then last year, right? Last fall-ish, that I was talking to my wife, and I'm like, man, we're always at these places. I'd love to go fishing again. And she's like, let's go buy some stuff. And I bought some equipment and started getting back into it again. And, I've always just been using spinning gear. And then I also decided, well, I'm in Colorado. I got to be, the Colorado guy, and I got to have a fly rod as well. So I'm working on that. And
I was about to say, I feel like everybody here has a fly rod. Yep.
Yeah. And now there's, I don't know, probably 10 fishing poles out of the garage and piles of gear, and there's always a fishing pole in my Jeep, and it's everything. There's spinning rods, there's fly rods, there's tenkara rods. They're the right tool for the right job. I've got it all. So I enjoy it. It's something. I probably get out, I don't know, a couple times a week and go fishing. And if we're on a trail where there's fishing opportunity, I'm going to give it a shot.
Have you caught anything?
Yes, I did.
Have you caught anything like in a weird place that you wouldn't have really expected to catch something, but you threw a line in?
Actually, we were up on Italian Creek, and that's near Taylor Pass, Pearl Pass area, and it's kind of Cement Creek, Italian Creek. It's kind of a little offshoot to tie those together. And we're sitting there camping, and there's this tiny little creek right there. And I'm just like, I seriously doubt that there's anything in here. But I look up, and there's kind of a decent-sized pool. It's maybe 30 feet across by 60 feet, 70 feet. What the hell? I grab my tenkara rod. I walk over there, and I start pulling out brown trout. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is amazing. They weren't big. They were, 6, 8, 9 inches. But I totally did not expect to actually find fish there. It was just to go relax for, a half hour or so. And to catch some fish like that was amazing. And
that's awesome.
I'll say my favorite fishing that I've done recently was Pomeroy Lake. Absolutely amazing. That there's kind of a shelf that goes out from the shore, probably 60 feet. And most people can't even cast over that. So everyone's sitting there getting frustrated. They're not catching anything. It's like, you got to get past that shelf. I mean, it's only 2 feet deep for 70 feet out. And I'm like,
Right.
oh, screw this. And I just walk out, jeans, hiking shoes, walk out on it. And I'm in my fly line just past that shelf, and I'm pulling in fish like crazy. Lake trout, Arctic graylings. That's first time I caught an Arctic grayling on a fly rod.
Wow.
It was just amazing. I probably caught 10 fish in a half hour. Just wild.
That's awesome.
Wild fishing up there.
I mean, it makes kind of sense. I mean, these are alpine lakes, right? They don't get a ton of food incoming other than what they get. So you introduce just anything that even looks like food, they're going to snap at it.
Well, and
That's
a lake
fantastic.
like Pomeroy is not very pressured because 90% of the people who fish there hike up to it. Because the last section to get there is serious 4x4 road. And so very few
Right.
people will drive up to the lake, versus us, which like, oh, let's just go. And we drive up there, and then it's about a quarter mile hike to the lake itself. And oh my God, that was amazing. So much fun.
That's cool, man. All right. Well, I feel like I've taken up enough of your time. I don't feel like it. I know I've taken up enough of your time at this point. Is there anything that you want to plug in particular, or anything that you got going on in the near future that everybody should know about? Or is it just kind of follow all the trail travelers at the Instagrams and the YouTubes? Well, YouTube is really more your thing than
We
Instagram.
only do YouTube. I'll post a
Okay.
picture here and there on Instagram, but that's not my thing. I'm into making content. And I'll say, if for people who want or think they want to do a YouTube channel, you have to enjoy all of it. You have to enjoy the filming, the editing, the grading, the music, the sound effects, the sound design. If you don't enjoy every aspect of it, you're probably going to burn out on it pretty quick. Yeah. It's an entire lifestyle of creating content that you have to enjoy doing. And it's something I enjoy doing. So that's why I do it. And so, yeah, follow us, check us out, join the adventures. And I think I'm going to do, and together we're going to do some pretty cool stuff next year. And we look forward to all the adventures that we're going to have.
That's fantastic, man. Yeah, I look forward to looking and seeing what else you got going on. I'm sure that we're going to be running into each other a lot more in the coming year. I think you and I both have big years planned for for in our own respective stuff. So congratulations on all the success so far, man. I mean, honestly, it's the YouTube following that you've got, and then kind of the stats that you can kind of see it just, at the outsider level, like it's really impressive. It is awesome to see people who have a real passion for not just the trails, but the content creation. Like I'm one of those people too. I really enjoy the idea of sharing this with other folks and sharing these really cool places and getting out there responsibly and making sure that, this stuff is documented and people know it's there and that people enjoy it just like I got a chance to. So thank you very much for doing all that, and keep it up.
And you hit me up anytime. Let's go turn some scout routes into some regular routes.
I 100%, man. I think we should do that. But we could do an episode on the trail where we're just talking about all the research and stuff that we do into trying to find routes. I think we could have a whole conversation about that too. So, and you're welcome back anytime, Carrie. Thank you very much for coming on the show, man.
Absolutely. Good to be here, JD.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us at the Trailhead. Check out Carrie and YouTube at Trail Traveler. I will link to his his YouTube channel in the show notes for the show. And look forward to seeing you again, man. Have a great night.
Take care, man.
Thanks, Carrie. Hello, Trailheads, and welcome to the Trailhead. Before the trails start today, we need to have a short safety meeting. Off-roading is an exhilarating but inherently risky sport. The insights and opinions that are shared by our hosts and any experts or guests on the podcast are intended to inform and inspire, not replace professional guidance. The Trailhead guests, partners, and any sponsors are not liable for any actions that you take based on what you hear. It is your responsibility to seek professional advice and make informed decisions, especially when attempting potentially dangerous activities. Always check current trail conditions and comply with local laws and regulations. Off-roading requires careful preparation and respect for safety, so ensure that you're well prepared before hitting the trails. And now that that's out of the way, buckle up and let the stories begin.
Rev it up, let it roll, feel the ground shake. Pedal down, dust flying, no time to waste. The trailhead's calling, engines fire, we're on a roll. This is where trails start and stories unfold. Under starlit skies, where the wild things roam. Every trail a journey, every Jeep a home. Meet me at the trailhead, where the wild ones run, where the dust kicks high and the day's not done. With the road wide open and the dirt in our soul. This is where trails start and our stories unfold. Oh, when the trail gets tough, we crank it up. Dig down deep, yeah, we never stay stuck. Jeeps on the ridge, friends by our side. Off-road family, it's one hell of a ride. Bricks keep rolling, the days wearing thin. Gonna tell our stories round the trailhead again. Meet me at the trailhead, where the wild ones run, where the dust kicks high and the day's not done. With the road wide open and the dirt in our soul. This is where trails start and our stories unfold. Oh, when the trail gets tough, we crank it up. Dig down deep, yeah, we never stay stuck. Jeeps on the ridge, friends by our side. Off-road family, it's one hell of a ride. Rigs keep rolling, the days wearing thin. Gonna tell our stories round the trailhead again. Meet me at the trailhead, where the wild ones run, where the dust kicks high and the day's not done. With the road wide open and the dirt in our soul. This is where trails start